Well, hello there, my name is HW, and thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. Okay, so we've profiled the quintessential clean amp. It's the 1965 Fender Twin Reverb. It's the one you think of as the clean amp. It's clean, it's huge, it's loud, it's so frickin' heavy. Now, I've always thought of myself as more of like a Princeton guy or a deluxe guy because I like amps to break up a little bit. I really like when you're on the bridge that they're a little bit dirty, like they're just that edge of breakup thing, so that when you switch to like a neck with maybe a single coil, or when you go to the 2 or 4 position of a Strat, you get this cleaner sound. It really then enables you to have this very expressive control over the guitar. And so for that reason, I've only liked amps that were, kind of let you do that. I've always thought of the Twin as being too clean until I put the amp in the booth and really started turning it up. And I figured out something that I kind of knew, but it was fun to experience it again. And that's that blackface amps, vintage ones, are warm, are fat, and I don't think the Twin is even that clean. Look, now don't get me wrong, it's a clean amp. It's not like a Marshall or something that really breaks up and phase inverter is just, doing all that breakup stuff. But these clips I'm going to show you are just full, fat, saturated. And in my head, I always think of blackface amps as being like ultra scooped. But these amps are not the most scooped sound, especially now with modern amps. It seems like Mesa sort of took the sound I thought Fenders were in my head and made their amp sound like that on the clean channel, but then it leaves the actual blackface sound sounding bluesy and big. Check this out. 2 clips with this guitar, a custom shop Strat, that, listen, is a great sounding guitar, but not my fattest sounding guitar at all. Big and warm and beautiful, and it makes what is a relatively low output guitar just sound huge and fat. One of the things I love about like those big 100-watt power sections is how tight bass gets when you're talking about a big amp. Now that's a characteristic that you don't get on like a Princeton or a deluxe reverb because you just don't have enough wattage. You don't have bigger output transformers. Probably the output transformer is the biggest thing there to get the bass really tight. But these types of speakers pair really well, these types of amps pair really well with like a Royer 121 because you get that clear low end bass. And then the high end, you're getting from the ribbon that silkiness. You can hear that silkiness. Now, I actually used some Neve clones on the pre's here because I wanted to really add to that silky high end of the ribbon by getting that Neve beautiful high endiness too, because the Neve sort of push the top end out a little in a really nice way, where something like an API really makes the amps more punchy. And even though a punchy Twin is a cool thing, you really got to work to make sure that old Fender amps don't get harsh. They don't tend to get that way by themselves, but with sloppy miking and stuff, you can definitely pull harshness out of the speaker. Now, those clips had a little bit of round, edge of breakup on them. We're pushing the amp a bit. And in fact, that clip of NB3 is the normal channel with the bright switch on, and that 3, I mean, the amp's probably at 6. I mean, it's a cooking amp at this point, right? So you're gonna get that round thing. Okay, now listen one more time, and you're gonna hear a very clean guitar, and then we're gonna go somewhere else. No, you cannot have the best sounding Telecaster in the world. It belongs to me. Every time I put this thing in a video, I get a ton of comments on it, and it does sound really great. I have no idea what pickups these are. I tell people they're Lawlers because that's what the guy who sold to me says, and honestly, I've just never unscrewed it and looked, because it's nice to have a guitar with a little bit of mystery around, isn't it? When you know so much about everything, like I know everything from the spec sheet of this guy, it's nice to have something that's just like, what is that? I don't know. It's a piece of pine. Who made it? I don't know. I know what they told me, but I never saw the name on it. Well, what kind of pickups are those? I don't know. It just sounds like that guitar. Anyway, you heard that woody, super woody, strong kind of low end. It sounds like a tree trunk, that low end that just bellows, right, on the clean stuff. And you hear that beautiful high end. You can hear kind of the silkiness of the ribbon, but there's a poke now. There's a little extra vibrance from that Neve style pre. And then when this thing gets going, it's just, come on, like that's a rock sound. And that's what I'm talking about. The sort of idea you often have in your head of like a Fender, right? Even a vintage one, is sometimes this sort of wimpy, clean. Now the speakers we used here were really interesting because this particular amplifier had concert series Jensen speakers. And in =65, that was sort of the upgraded speaker type for this amplifier. They were using Oxfords and the Deluxes, and then they were using, I think, another type of Jensen. The original Jensens would have been in this amplifier, but these concert series Jensens were supposed to be a little more creme de la creme. They're a sought-after speaker, not one that really gets the most love, but honestly, from the demos and stuff I've heard online, I'd love to be able to try, kind of 2 cabs with the same amp back to back, but the concert series Jensens seem like the way to go, and these sound absolutely great. Of course, I'll make some IRs and stuff so people can enjoy it on the Helix, and we can put them with other amps, other direct profiles, and that will be stellar. But these things sound awesome. Now, one thing you may have noticed is that in all those clips that I just played for you, the Verb is pretty forward and pretty in your face, right? And that's typical of old Fender Verbs. It's even typical of the reissues. There's not a ton of control. You just have one reverb knob, but the sound of that Fender reverb is a fairly forward, long trail, and it's fairly full frequency. They're not the darkest Verbs on the planet, for sure. And they really quick just get in your face and in the way. That's the sound of surf. That's the sound of a lot of different older styles of music. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. It's a cool sound. I tried to get the Spring Verb to sound like that. So it's not a shy Verb, but in case you're wondering what it sounds like with the Verb just pulled back a little bit so you can really hear these profiles, they're some of the most honest profiles that we've done. Get your chops in order. There's no hiding. Well, I've been HW. These profiles will be available shortly, or they are available already, depending on when you're watching this video. You can check them out at tonejunkistore.com. Hey, if you get anything out of these videos, you like the channel, you've learned something about the Kemper, the Helix, IRs, whatever, hit like, subscribe. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much, HW.